Hello there, dear Holotropic family. This is Geoff Fitzpatrick speaking to you. The very first video of 2022, which I'm making especially for you because I'm super excited about this brand new module that I'm birthing with GTT, and it's called The Inner Healer, Surrender, and Yoga of the Cross. This birthing of a new module is not like a little thing for me, actually. So this video, I just wanted to share with you what I've put together for you, and I hope it helps maybe be a little bit enticing and might encourage you to come and join me for what I think is going to be an amazing get together. So basically there's two halves of the module, if you like. There's kind of a teaching component like you're going to experience in any holotropic module. And then there's also going to be a huge amount of experiential work as well. So the idea is based around the primacy of the inner healing principle. And I'm kind of like honoring and leaning heavily upon the work of the Grandmaster Tav, who for me personally has been the greatest spiritual mentor and teacher. And even though he's passed on, I actually only began really reading this book in a deep and serious way, and I've realized what a legacy has been left, and Tav used to speak about the inner healer as the pearl beyond price, this idea that the person who knows what's best for you is you. And so this is probably the core principle of holotropic that I'm sure most of you adhere to and also resonate with. And so the idea of this module, putting a big umbrella over it, is to sort of give ourselves the time, the space, and the permission to access that part of ourselves, quite simply. So in terms of like the teaching component, I'm going to draw upon Tav's work in quite a specific way. I'm actually going to recommend this book as kind of like a core text, because Tav has really left us a legacy here in this book, which is something that really keeps him alive in a way, but also keeps the essence of what he really championed in the holotropic community, which is this primacy of the inner healer and how to access it. So the teaching component is going to speak to. I'm going to sort of like share with you a couple of teachers. There's also a guy called John O'Donoghue, who's this kind of Celtic philosopher who equally has influenced my own journey in a major way. And then also, I'm just a huge fan of Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle and the way he honors this journey inward and the opening to our interior world is going to be another core influence. So I have the books here, this particular book by John O'Donoghue called Eternal Echoes is something that is so holotropic in its essence, and essentially the idea is that we're going to encourage ourselves to journey inward towards the source of who we are at the deepest level. And John O'Donoghue speaks about this beautifully, that when we open to our interior worlds and we journey inward and we get access to that part of who we are at the truest source, deep, deep down, something kind of magic happens where we connect to the world in a new way, where somehow this disconnection and journeying inward towards the source of who we are actually reconnects us with our worlds in this radical way, where we feel more connected to nature, more connected to our friends, our families. There's almost like this kind of like umbilical connection to our surroundings, to the world, and this kind of frequency of interconnectedness, And then, and another core teacher will be Eckhart Tolle, who is to be honest, a huge influence of mine, and I know not everybody maybe feels as passionate about Eckhart Tolle as I do, and it's just, I'm just sort of sharing with you in the teaching component who I'm going to be leaning upon, and he has this incredible way to step you towards opening to the infinity that exists within you, And like these guys, they all stand on the shoulders of each other. Another teacher, and the final teacher that I'm going to be sharing in an explicit way is Krishnamurti, who is another teacher that I really adore. And he speaks about this kind of inner intelligence, and how we can let go of the sort of the confines of the conditioning of our culture and open to an intelligence inside of us and awaken that. So it's entirely holotropic, you know. Tav, John O'Donoghue, Eckhart Tolle, Krishnamurti. These are going to be like the core pillars of the teaching aspect of this module, you know. And, you know, in essence, we're going to, you know, have sort of a sort of lecture side of the module, you know, where I'm going to share with you some of these ideas, not really to convert you or to persuade you into, you know, sharing the same point of view as anybody else, you know, but more just kind of to get the dials of your own psyche beginning to churn, so that like step by step it prepares you to enjoy the kind of inner journeys that I'm going to be sharing with you. So I have some incredible visuals, and I've learned some amazing ways of inviting you to evoke an inner experience in this kind of virtual online environment. And I have this project called Head Cleaner, which uses these kind of sacred geometric shapes. And it's just a really deep meditation that allows you open to your inner worlds, you know. So there's going to be teaching on this side, and there's going to be experiencing on that side, you know. And this kind of ties in with Tav's whole mantra of like being and becoming and being and becoming. We have these peak experiences at the top of the mountain, and then we have to come back down into the world and kind of remain knowing our zip code and all that good stuff, you know. All right, so yeah, so we've got this teaching component, we've got this experiencing component, you know. And so there's basically three core themes. It's the primacy of the inner healing wisdom, which is quite simply the pearl beyond price, the person who knows what's best for you is you. And then this kind of like, for me, what has stood out in Tav's teaching and in the holotropic principles and in any sort of breakthrough I've had on the whole spiritual journey or whatever, it's always been accompanied by this sense of surrender, this sense of letting go, you know. And so I want to kind of make this a core theme of this module, you know. And so what do I mean by surrender, you know, or letting go to something higher than the little you? Tav speaks about, you know, most of our lives we live out of this contraction, this kind of like false self he would talk about. And that like our journey towards wholeness then is this kind of like letting go of these false trappings, and we awaken to a kind of a truer, deeper, soul-centered side of ourselves. And then we allow that awaken into and inform who we are in the world, you know. So that is going to be this huge part of it, but it's all about journeying inward to connect with that true part of who we are. But surrender and letting go has, in nearly every upgrade I've had in my own journey, has been accompanied by this sense of surrender. And I remember Tav used to joke about surrender is not something you can make happen. You know, it's not something you can, he used to make a joke about, okay, I'm going to surrender now. Okay, here we go. And surrender. And it just, you cannot use your will in order to evoke surrender. Surrender is almost something that happens to you, you know? And so the letting go and surrender has been a huge part of my own journey with the mandala workshops I've done over the last 15 years, you know? And I've realized that there's this huge power in people letting go of these false trappings of we've all adopted these kind of like false parts of who we are, and the more we let go of those trappings, the freer we become, and the more easy it is to access that true self, who we really are deep down, you know. So yeah, but surrendering is like it's almost ironic or kind of paradoxical, because we can't all just roll up our sleeves and say, right, we're just going to head off and surrender now, you know? It's like we can just kind of like incubate the set and the setting and bring a certain intention. And then you can't even trick your mind. You can't even say like, oh, I'll just set up this set and setting and I'll set this intention and then the surrender will come. And you kind of wait here like this for surrender, because surrender always blindsides you. It almost surprises you, you know. And I know that most of you have had this experience yourself. You know, when it happens, you know. And so there are sort of tools from the teachers that we can kind of use to sort of like foster an atmosphere of surrender, you know, and that's what the essence of this module is going to be. This idea of letting go, that has so many layers to it, right? On one level, it's like letting go of all of our dramas, letting go of all of our traumas, that's kind of using our will to free ourselves of all the baggage, all the stuff we don't need. And that can be really freeing. And for many people, that's enough. That's like, oh, I feel much lighter. I feel much brighter. I've let go of my bag of crap that I don't need to carry around. We all feel much better after that. But letting go, then it also, we can go deeper down into that experience. This idea of like letting go into being okay with everything inside and out, just as it is now, without wanting to change a single thing. So this is like a nuanced form of surrender, which I also want to speak to in the module. And it's like this idea that, you know, I know in my own life I'm bound by this kind of entrapment with wanting the things I want, not wanting the things I don't want, and then sort of being blocked in hazy confusion about not being able to even see this dance between craving and aversion, as the Buddhists would say. And when we actually just surrender to saying, okay, I notice I want these things and I'm craving these things. And I notice that I don't want these things and I want to push these things away. First of all, to get that clarity is liberating in itself. But then to truly surrender to that and just go, I am okay with things just as they are. Now that's a deep type of surrender, out of which I feel real transformation might spring. So we're going to really speak to this. It's going to be a core theme in the module. And then we're going to conclude, or we're going to not conclude, but woven through this kind of module is going to be the technique, or the kind of the tool of the yoga of the cross, or Tav would call it the awareness positioning system. I like the yoga of the cross, but I know that kind of like puts some people off because cross is linked to Christianity. So just for clarity, this cross has nothing to do with the Christian cross. It's more of an X and Y axis. And it's simply, when we speak about the horizontal axis, we're speaking about everything that happens from the moment we open our eyes in the morning, all of the experiences we have, all of the influences we receive, all of the interactions we have with people, with organizations, with media streams, with algorithms these days, all those things that are kind of on the horizontal. They're things outside of ourselves. And then on the vertical axis, it's kind of like what happens when we journey inward towards the source of who we are, this kind of interior realm that we can visit, which so often we don't in our modern world, to be honest. So this module will also be an encouragement to open to those inner worlds and to journey in there. And so the yoga of the cross is like this incredible tool, which is so powerful because it allows us bring back the insights we get from doing these modules, from the mountaintop experiences, and to bring back a working tool that we can actually bring into our moment-to-moment lives, which, let's be honest, is where we want all of this inner work to bear fruit. Or at least that's my take on it, that I really... You know what? It doesn't really mean anything unless it's bearing fruit, like on the ground of my life, where I'm having challenging interactions with friends or loved ones, or my world in general. I want to be able to draw on these spiritual upgrades so that they can bear fruit here in the real world. And this is where the yoga of the cross, as a technique, as a tool for living, fits in. One of the things I love about the virtual module is unlike when we come together in person, which, by the way, I long for and cannot wait. Talk about craving. Cannot wait to be back with you all in person, on the floors, doing holotropic breathwork. I am really hoping 2022 sees us all back there, to be honest. But there is some silver linings between doing this work virtually, okay? And one of the big ones, for me at least, is when we come together virtually, we're actually physically in our worlds, right? We're actually in our horizontal worlds. I don't have to fly across the Atlantic and go to some beautiful retreat center in America, as much as I would love that and can't wait for it to happen again. But for now, what we're doing is we're we're staying physically in our matrix worlds or in our horizontal worlds, but we're journeying vertically, right? And so I get this kind of kick out of, isn't it cool that like if we can really, bring light and sort of unburden ourselves and release ourselves of those false trappings that we carry and kind of like become empowered, reconnect with our inner healers while we're still in our real worlds, then we can be brighter and lighter and have more to give of ourselves, to shine that light almost immediately in our worlds, and like think of like how many people come on the module. If we all do this together and then we enter back into our real worlds, we bring this kind of upgraded frequency to the horizontal world. How cool is that? Like that's kind of the ultimate mission of trying to sort of raise the frequency of the planet, that in our own small ways, the only person you're ever working on is yourself. We make these changes and if we bring that into our worlds, that is a hope I have for this module. So I've gone on long enough. I just wanted to give you a flavor of the details of the module, of how excited I am about it. And it's a very, very sincere, heartfelt invitation to you that if this feels like something that you're resonating with and you feel it's like something that you would get some value from, I would love to see you. You can check out all the details on holotropic.com. Please go to the event, log in there, and you can sign up with Janet. And I'd love to see you for the launch of this very, very exciting, or at least exciting for me, new module. Thank you, everybody. Hope to see you soon. Huge love. Bye.